record. Okay. Yeah, so we are doing the advisory team meeting for October 13th. It is 6:05, and we are in the Community Development Building. And we're going to leave one here, and we're going to put one here. Okay. All right, so you can just kind of keep tabs. You don't have to, but if it stops. Okay, everybody, so we'll just do a quick check-in. Thanks for being here, and we're going to do, because I have kids on the break, because Alexis is here. So let's just answer a quick, what do you like to do, either with your kids, nieces, nephews, neighbors, any little person that you want to think of, and if you don't like to do anything, it's little people, we don't care, that's okay. But we won't, publicly make fun of you, but hi, Dan. So, name something that you like to do with a little person or little people. Sarah, start.
Anything with them?
Anything, usually fun. Something fun, not something horrible.
My little person and I like to travel. We're trying to get to all 50 states, and so we've been doing a lot of travel.
You can take your breath. Steve.
Anything outdoors, just like to get them, when my kids are small, same thing, get them out of the house and do anything.
We like to, get outside, and I guess this season we just did like pumpkins and arts and crafts and stuff like that, even though I'm no good.
Anything that will get her away from that video game. To be honest with you, arts and crafts or cooking.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. Very tough.
I don't have any kids, but I do have a nephew, and I just kind of hang out with him. He's a baby, so.
I like to do crafts with my kids, and recently we've been trying to learn some TikTok dances. That's no good either.
No babies, but 13 grandchildren. I like to see them go home. I do enjoy seeing them. Yeah. Different activities.
That's a good part.
Yeah, I think so. Cooking and, outdoor activities, yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, maybe we'll have Corey and Marvin come, because I think they'll be here. Anyway, so let's look, what we're going to focus on today, and I know that when we were all virtual, we looked at this before, but the racial equity plan has been through a couple drafts, and because you guys are really tasked with looking at the city's policies and practices, I know that the city council and other people will be very, very interested in, more input, additional input, what you like, what you don't like, what's confusing, questions you have. So we're going to spend a good chunk of, in fact, most of this meeting on this. The housing issue, we are probably going to push, at least for the most part, until next time. Housing is it's just huge. And so what I want to make sure before the end of this meeting, the part that I do want to make sure we gather, I've got a list, we'll go over later, of the things that you want to look into more. So I've got some of that documented, but we want to make sure we record all of that. So first, let me just take 2 minutes and explain what's in front of you and what's all around here. So you have the plan in front of you, and that is more of the higher level strategies, and then the addendum is in the back, and that is the 20, you can just kind of keep flipping, and that is a list, which you also got in the packet, of these the list for 2022, okay? Because what we heard was, hey, it's nice, all these strategies and these nice words and all of that, but what are we actually going to do? What is anything going to happen? And so, let's just walk through this for 2 minutes, and then we'll get to your feedback and questions, okay? One resident, oh, and then the other piece that you have in front of you, for people who want to get more detailed, we're not going to run through every single thing. This Word document shows what the plan is on the left. In the sidebar are all the edits and what was edited and, you know, what groups made suggestions for that. That was an idea from the chair of the HRC, and it was a really good one. We did this with the 2040 plan also, to show the reiteration between the first draft, the second draft, the third draft, so people know it wasn't just a couple people in a room getting together and writing a bunch of things down. So you'll see how it's changed in this document. It just goes through everything that was added, subtracted, moved, things that stayed the same. So really what this is some of it you've seen. The title actually changed from the suggestion of a resident. It's now called the Strategic Racial Equity Action Plan. Contents, mission, vision, also includes a little paragraph on how we will act. All that is in the city's strategic plan, comes directly from that. What does racial justice look like? That was from the original. These 5 key principles were added. That is from the city's documents. And then really what people were saying is this acknowledgement of systemic racism and Redwing's commitment. People were like, wah, 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 you know, that's a bunch of government gobbledygook from a few years ago. So let's put in something that was done more by community. And I think it was the HRC, and probably, I'll have to look and see because I wrote all this down. Basically, I think the HRC said, hey, let's use, because since this first draft was done, the city council approved a declaration that racism is a public health emergency. And so that document is here. This acknowledgement of systemic racism comes directly from that document, and Redwing's commitment comes directly from that document. So that's where that language comes from. And if you look on the edits, it just says, hey, that's where it comes from. We added, you know, where this comes from, so people write in the plan. Content on this page comes from Redwing's Declaration of Proclamation declaring racism a public health emergency, August 2021, so people know where that comes from. What we're going to do is we'll go through this a little bit, and then we're going to walk around like we've done before. You just put everything you want to say about this document on sticky notes. That way you don't have to, if you want if you want me or someone to know who you can put your initials, but you don't have to, you know. And then that way we'll go through it together and we'll kind of report out. You know, Steve will report out on those two, and Jen will report out on those two, and Sarah will report out on those. So that we can have some good notes. Tomorrow night is the Human Rights Commission workshop, so they'll do the same thing. And then it will go out in a survey to the entire community, and people can give feedback that way, mostly online at their own, you know, time. It will go out again to Prairie Island, again to Hispanic Outreach, again to different organizations, and then some organizations haven't really seen it, like Hope Coalition, Youth Outreach. Maybe 1 or 2 staff members have, but they haven't really shared it with their group. The Youth Commission, Black Student Union, you know, so over the next 3 weeks, this will just go out a bunch. But I really wanted to make sure that the Human Rights Commission and the advisory team got a chance to really dig in before everybody else, you know, sees it one last time. So some changes can be made before it goes out to the full community. This racism's constant effect on health. This was a letter from Red Heart of the Human Rights Commission, and a personal letter to the editor that some people may want, some people may not, but that's in there right now. And then the data on why we need to do better. And you can see that goes over the population by race and ethnicity. It goes through median household income and that huge disparity in household income. It goes through our students of color and what those stats are in our district. Goes through poverty rates, home ownership rates. And so if you think that additional data or it's confusing or anything about that, we want to know. I'm just going through what's in here. The timeline that the city of Red Wing, this isn't saying the city has done a fabulous job or anything with equity, but it just says these are the formal steps that were taken. The plan, where did it come from? This is a short and small list. This list will grow so that people know, hey, who saw this? Who put this together? So that's there. The plan, where did it come from? And like I said, more people, groups, and community are still weighing in. There are the long-term goals and then the strategies and actions. And the strategies themselves did not change. People were pretty fine with the overall, the bold ones, but the actions have been edited, and maybe you saw that in that document. They've been edited, some have been added, and then we have this evaluation tool at the end that we've talked about before. And then, so that I can quickly stop talking here, I just want to mention the addendum A is sort of like, here's the list of stuff that we should be doing in 2022. And it holds people accountable because you'll see, like under strategy 1 through 6 on the first page, that's all under strategy 1. And I'm just going to give one example here. I'll just read the first one. Implement a human rights complaint documentation system. City will pilot a program in 2022, evaluate after 1 year, and consider improvements. What it does, it says 1A after it. That means which strategy it came from. It says administration and city council in italics. That's what department is in charge of that. Now, this doesn't mean that other people, groups, community members aren't also helping, but we have to name someone in city government that's going to make sure that that happens. So that's administration and city council. Right now, the HRC has weighed in heavily on that, but the council needs to make a decision on that. That's ultimately their decision. And what's in red is kind of where this idea came from. I'm not promising that all those are 100%. Sometimes it came from a lot of different places. But this is the majority, like this idea primarily came from the HRC, so that's listed as HRC. And that's just to show people where those came from. So each one has something in italics that says what city department is accountable, and it says in red who came up with that idea. So there are 32 things. One thing I just added this afternoon, which is from you guys. Number 28 on the very back page, it's in blue. That is from your very first recommendation. And that probably needs to happen because you recommended that to the city council. The city council accepted that recommendation. There was turnover with the police chief, and there's probably been quite a bit of turnover with Hope. So over 2022, this is something that probably should happen. So I just added that in blue so you could see that that was an added thing. All your other recommendations from recommendation list number 2 are in here, but that first one didn't get put in there. The only other thing I'll say is that we will have some information in a link that will get to that survey that you all did. Remember the survey back in March and April where you went out and talked to people, and we did these big sheets, and there were 58 people that answered that, and we have information on what they said. And then you guys kind of used that information plus your own information and made those second recommendations. So we want people to know that when we say advisory team, it came from this advisory team, but it also came from those almost 60 people that you spoke to. There's another thing that says TH interviews, and that was the Thomas Harris interviews. And a lot of what was uncovered in those interviews by Thomas Harris, and if you don't know who that is, we can talk about that a little bit later. They also paralleled a lot of things that were coming up. So, and people were asking, hey, did you use those in here? And we did look through those to make sure those things bubbled up too. So, just in terms of what is here, do you have any questions? Not necessarily comments yet, but just questions about what you're looking at. And how this would, I will give you also a little bit about what happens. Like, what happens to this? What happens is that eventually, and hopefully in November, this will go before the city council just for discussion. They'll give some feedback, back and forth, listen, what are they on board with, what's confusing, what are they questions on. And then 2 weeks later, or the next meeting, 2 or 4 weeks later, this would get revised maybe a little bit if the council had major questions or concerns, and then it would go before them to vote. There are only 4 city council meetings before the end of the year. I'm hoping to get this to them for a vote by the end of November. 3 meetings away. So that when January starts, a lot of these things can already have been approved and ready to go. All right? So does anybody have any questions on what it is or timing or anything like that? Okay.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
About the, I think it was about the plaques. It was talking about plaques.
Yep.
And I was just thinking, it mentioned the meat market where the Salvation Army is. Did anybody put any thoughts into where Eli Fields had his barber shop in the St. James?
Okay, good point. Yep. No, see, that's why we need.
I think I think it now is the kitchen. It's for the dish room or something, but I don't know if that's something that could happen, but I know he was one of the first African American barbers here in town.
Okay. That'd be great, and I do think that the St. James is trying to do some things in this area, so I think that they would be up for it. So, okay, I'm writing that down. Thanks, Michael. Good, I think that was number 3, or no, sorry. Number 4, and under the addendums. So what I'm hoping that we can do right now is, because I want your feedback on, we're just going to sit here and make notes, on your plan. What you like, what you don't like, what's confusing, what you think should be changed, who you think maybe we should reach out to more. And then we're going to spend some time here, and then we're going to spend some time putting those notes on these boards. So I can take pictures and we'll document and then make some changes. So is everybody okay with that? I'm sure I would have brought a big pot of coffee. So I'll put on a little music and we'll just, and when you feel like it, I'll look at the time, and if nobody starts moving it up. But we'll probably do like 10 minutes just sitting with the document, because I know everybody's been doing a million things today, so it's kind of like time to just sort of spend looking at the document. And then, but if you want to at any time, you can start filling out, and there's sticky notes at each, and this is where it starts, the plan, and it just goes all the way around, and then the addendum, which is the steps, the actual 2022 steps, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So those, that's this part here. Okay? Okay. Just let you get to it. And I will put some tunes on. Anytime What did you say?
My stomach over here growling and they
Oh.
give me looks, man. I didn't eat before I came.
Anytime you want to, you can walk around. It's just one way. If we had walls, these would be up on the walls, but these, there's so much artwork, and it's really hard to, these things don't sit very long. So I just put them on tables, but just walk around and sort of put your comments, and you don't, like I said, they can be anonymous, it's fine. And put them, you know, I've got small and big sticky notes, so you can just put them wherever you kind of think that you want, you know, additions, subtractions, whatever. If people decide to come up and use the sticky notes, if there are things too, we'll go through afterwards, what people liked. If there are things you especially like, you can also put that down. You know, we want to know what you definitely want to keep. What you dislike, anything that's confusing, what you might want to add or subtract. But just feel free to kind of do what Michael's doing and kind of walk around and put down things that you're jotting down we want to see on the big board. And there'll be additional people that use this too, but I want to give the advisory teams.
Feed off Sunday, the Vikings.
Yeah,
That last second win.
I get, it's football, man. I'm gonna find something to get, man.
Yeah, I can't watch ESPN or anything after they lose. I don't even want to hear it like.
I'm horrible. It's like I got it on the 75-inch, got it on my phone, and got it on my tablet.
Yes, sir.
I'm a fantasy.
K-fan,
I
everything
love
else.
fantasy football. Any fantasy sport, if it's free, I'm doing it. Wife ain't gonna let me bet no more money.
Family member from Detroit, but they live here. So he goes for the Lions, obviously. So I said, man, you got to go all the way down just to see them. You know, he said, we got close. I said, so that's why you got close. That's good. I lost that one.
We would have lost that. I don't think Zimmer would still be there.
See any of that
Well,
Packers
everyone's gonna
game?
read, like, so
The 30, where they had 30 seconds, 37 seconds left?
Oh, I mean, like,
Yeah,
Sarah,
I
can
like
you
to
read
see.
those two?
I'm not a Packer
Yep.
fan, but when it comes to fantasy, yes, I am, because there's some players and a decent little defense that saves me.
What, 5 missed field goals
You want me
in
to
the
go over
last
it now?
2.5 minutes?
Yeah, let's see how many major
Oh,
are these. 1, 2,
There's Derrick Henry,
3, 4.
the running back from the
We're
Tigers,
gonna
like,
decide to kind of read over and we'll kind of
Did you have
break this
babies?
down. What's up?
Did you have your baby?
Yeah.
What did you have?
Steve, do you think?
The 27th, August.
What did you have?
Oh,
Girl.
Oh, I feel like, yeah, thanks, all this. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll have to find
I'm gonna have
you.
your report out to
Oh,
everyone.
yeah.
Yes.
When I call your name.
Yeah, she's definitely something.
Yeah.
Michael, will you read? No, doesn't matter. Steve, if you can read those two, Alexis, will you read those two tables? We're gonna have them, have you say them out loud.
Oh, okay, which one? These two?
Oh, well, Michael will do those two, I guess. Steve, maybe you can do these two. I don't really care. Alexis, you do these two. Okay, Ellen doesn't even have any, so maybe just that one. And Janet, where is she? Janet, you could do these two. And, I don't know, go stand next to something so we can read out loud. How's that? Okay.
Need to stand.
Yeah, some things that were on there.
Well, is it start with page 3?
Well, it's the title page.
Oh, okay.
And then the table of contents. Yeah.
So I'm just reading the post-its, like what,
Yeah.
What I got.
Yep.
this one has the 5 key principles: sustainability, health, accessibility, resiliency, equity, and what was added on this post-it is accountability.
Okay, yep.
And what's the title of the top 5 thing?
Red Wings 5 key principles.
Yeah, and that came, I will say that came from 2040, and it's in the strategic plan, so it could be an additional thing for this plan. You know, we'll be able to go back in time on those, but it's something that could be added here. So, okay, good. Okay, what else you got?
There was no other post-its on it.
Okay.
For the acknowledgement of systemic racism, there's a paragraph that reads, "The city of Irving recognizes that Africans were forcibly brought to this country, enslaved, and after the emancipation of slavery, citizens of this country perpetuated anti-black racism through violence, mass incarceration, and anti-black policies, including redlining." And the post-it next to it, it's like, etc. There are many more examples that people of color have had to endure because of what was.
Oh, okay.
So this was mine. I was thinking maybe I think that having it just list a few makes it seem like that's it.
Oh,
That's the only things that were.
yeah, okay. Doesn't
There's
okay.
add like an etc. at least.
Yeah, right, so to make it, so people know that isn't just the only.
Yeah, those are the only.
Okay, good. What else?
The city of Redmond acknowledges as well that Hispanic families have become vital to this community, providing social, economic, and cultural richness, yet bias still persists in every facet of our system. And then the post-it next to it says, despite their legal status.
Okay. You mean including? Did you write this as? I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, bias
Oh,
persists in
okay.
every facet of our system.
Oh, it was okay. Was this you?
No.
No. Just write the legal status?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little more so that I am sure I write down? the
Okay,
right
I think so. It said, acknowledge about the Hispanic community.
Mhm.
What I mean is, even if they are not legal, they start, they keep the economy going,
Yes, whether or not they're documented,
Yeah.
right? So whether or not, so yes.
Yeah, whether.
Okay, got it, good. Okay, let's see, acknowledge that undocumented, right. People, better economic status, okay. Better economic, okay, good, I just want to make sure I got that right. Okay, great. Next.
And then this one says add other minorities, and then underneath that it says Hispanics, and I think it's what is next to it, the multitude of studies connect racism to inequitable health outcomes for Black, Indigenous, and people of color.
Yes. Okay. Okay, good. Great. Okay.
Red Wings commitment. At the end of the first paragraph says, or add, and holding people accountable. Oh, I guess I'll read the last sentence. Anti-racism means the city of Red Wing is committed to ending racism and building an active anti-racist culture in the city of Red Wing. Being anti-racist means moving and speaking in ways that repair more than 500 years of racist policies and practices. anti-racism means actively participating in dismantling racist systems and institutional practices as well as addressing personal and interpersonal acts of racism. And then because it lists the examples or add holding people accountable.
Okay. Okay, first paragraph. Okay, good. That was the commitment page.
Yes.
Okay.
This is kind of yours.
If you want, no worries.
Okay.
Either way.
Thank you.
It's a lot of reading because I have a lot of words on my pages.
I know, you're good.
They're a long paragraph.
Because I wrote this one, so I could do it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Sam.
Yeah, what is this one? Page 6, it's, where there's a couple of them, where it says what the data shows about Red Wing's population by race and ethnicity. I got confused
Okay.
over here, and I can kind of see where, at least I can see where my confusion is because I see the Hispanic and Latino versus non-Hispanic Latino, but, I mean, it doesn't seem the
Right.
same.
This is really weird about, I agree, the 2020 decennial, so the 2020 census, I still think we have not gotten where we probably need to go as far as how the census divides ethnicities. So this is how the census does it. I don't think anybody's happy with it. I've heard a lot of angst, around the country. So they don't even include Hispanic here because they're calling this race and this ethnicity, and I don't have a good answer for why the census does it that way. But you're right, maybe we need to somehow explain why that is.
Yeah, because you see those separate questions on like applications and school documents, like the school district will have, it's separate from each other, and I've never understood either.
Right. So maybe we just need to, it's good to hear that, and I don't think we're alone in this confusion, but maybe we probably do need a paragraph or something that explains why. Or, because that's how our country does it right now. But
So is that how we're going to explain it?
well, I know, because the census does have like a long thing about why they do it that way. So we would have to shorten it up and say, this is how the census categorizes this and here's why. Do you know what I mean? Because we can find that out. Yeah. Okay, good, but I'm going to put that down because it is confusing, and that's why. And we're going to keep these. I'm going to keep these sticky notes on it, take a picture so that I capture exactly where that was. Race and ethnicity. Okay. Okay.
And then also on that page, on the part where it talks about the median household income, I wrote this one, and the reason I wrote it is because I guess I need better understanding on why there's such a big difference from $18,000 to $58,000.
Yeah.
Like I don't get. I'm confused with that. You know what I mean? So I was the one who wrote that one. So.
Right. I think that's something to figure. I mean,
I think just like a better understanding of if there's even a way to explain of why, all of Red Wing combined with an average of 54 and some change, but you go to, Black African Americans, that's 18,000, Hispanic 44, white or
right.
58.
I know. It's huge. It's huge. Okay. I don't know how we're gonna. We do need to do some looking into that. Yeah, it's a good question, Michael, for sure. Okay.
Page 7 talks about the poverty rates, and there's one here that says, should add a category for one adult and
and 2 adult households.
Say it one more time, just so I.
Where it talks about poverty rates and all that,
Oh,
it says,
right here?
yeah,
Okay, yep, we can get that.
I'll put that up there.
Okay. What is the poverty, you know, if you make, and what was that person asking for?
Add a category for 1 adult and also 2 adult households.
Okay. They have it broken out in this MIT income level, and you can go right down to the county and figure out 1 adult for 1 kid, 1 adult for 2 kids, 1 adult for 3 kids. But it basically, yeah. So we can definitely do that. Add the poverty calculation. Okay. All right, got it.
Page 9, the plan, where did it come from? Down at the very bottom, additional groups. Red Wing, Nonviolent Protest Group, now Unity in the Community.
Okay, we'll just say okay. Great, because we're going to talk about at the end of this how everybody can, how team members can help get it out. So that's in addition to us, so you can great idea. Okay.
And page 10, long-term goals. Under goal number 1, all areas of local government are free from racial inequities. Will there be repercussions or consequences if someone within city government is found not to be practicing and prioritizing racial equity?
Good question. How are people accountable?
That's something we've been discussing quite a bit, not just here in advisory, but I know in the HR, from the HRC standpoint, a big thing what we're trying to work on is now every board and commission at the beginning of each meeting or however they're going to do it, it's one of the first things that they're going to talk about is what are we doing to basically lift this. You know, sooner or later we want to get rid of this, you know, this declaration of making racism a public health emergency. So it's like, what is each group and commission, boards and commissions, what are you guys doing so we can get rid of this health emergency? So.
And I think even over here, it does say the different departments and staff would also be responsible to report out to the council what you're doing, you know, so people are. Now what would happen, you know, the idea is that council would put people's feet to the fire to make that happen, so, yeah, but it's a good, really good point. Okay. Thanks, Steve. Okay, Alexis?
Okay, page 11, strategies and actions. Under strategy 1, action 1C, safe space to share. It says support projects that involve community conversations, including uncomfortable ones, that lead to respectful dialogue and better understanding of each other. And it's a safe space to share.
Okay. So who said, so we get better, okay. Jackie, talk about more?
You know, it said, you know, there is for projects that involve community conversation. I imply that, you know, you are going to invite the community. So, even, you know, any, you know, conversation must to be, you know, do the conversation in a safe place to share.
Oh.
That they feel, you know, comfortable, you know, the information is gonna use for, you know, a good purpose, you know, to.
I see what you're saying. A safe space to share. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay, I didn't hear that part. Good part.
Yeah.
Is it a safe space? Do people feel comfortable?
Yeah,
Is it
figure out or whatever, you know, the issue is, you
So
know,
people
the
can-
experience that they have, yeah.
Okay, good, yes. So that can be added to, make sure, yep.
That was one of the biggest topics of discussion with this group of trying to get this community center together at Jefferson is I mean, that's the whole point, especially when I pitched it, is being able to create safe places for people to just feel safe.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think as the talks amp up with this community center, I think, you know,
You
more,
can talk freely and, you know, say
Sure.
what, you know, the things are.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point to add that. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Alexis. And Thomas, what you got over there?
Strategy number 5, create a culture within the city organization that prioritizes equity. And somebody has 13.5A, questioning how does the city do that? Really, let's see, I guess it's something, ways, maybe individual, not sure. Education, language use, and where's the advertising, I guess. And someone else has increased the hiring and retention of BIPOC minorities to Hispanics.
Just include, you know, what I, you know, wrote, you know, those notes, just,
Oh,
you make sure, you know, that all minorities are in, you know, in the description.
So that they're called out so that it's paid attention to.
Yeah, because
Okay.
this is a, you know, BIPOC,
Mhm,
which is,
mhm.
it will, you know, just that, you know,
Right.
open, you know, for all minorities, Hispanic, Asians.
Right. And that's one thing that I wondered. Different cities, different communities are using different things. Some use BIPOC a lot. Some say
black.
that, well, they say black, but they'll also, but BIPOC doesn't mean just black, you know, so then what do you say? Do you not use BIPOC at all? Do we say black, indigenous, you know, Latino, Asian, and other minority, you know, so that is maybe a conversation we can have after this for a couple minutes, because really it could be across the board what we say. So let's, for right now, and then maybe we'll be able to have a little bit of conversation about that. But what you're saying, Janet, is let's write that out so that people know.
Yeah. Including, you know, all minorities.
I have heard that there are people of color who don't like the BIPOC term.
Right, right. I know, so maybe we don't use it here, you know. Let's hold that for a second. But we will have that, Thomas, which one was this, the second one that you read about adding the word Hispanic? Is that under a number?
It said, the number, strategy number 5.
Okay. Okay, and the first one you weren't quite sure about, right?
That one is asking how is the city going to prioritize equity, basically, and then in some ways, like education, language use, and where advertising.
So does anybody want to speak up on that one so that Jan, was that you? Oh, no, sorry.
It was
Oh,
me, and it was just, the
Can you
what
tell-
was written was really vague, like, we were gonna prioritize hiring BIPOC people, but it didn't say how. And so,
Yeah.
as someone who hires people a
Thank you.
lot, like, how are you gonna do that?
Good. Okay. Right, needs some more. Yep.
Once more here, so it says, employees, is equity performance review something that can be implemented?
Equity performance reviews. Okay. Does anyone here, Sarah or otherwise, does anyone do that right now? Okay. And who wrote that one? I know I said we could be anonymous, but it's good to divide. Okay, Sam, do you know more about that? I'm sure our HR people.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I
okay.
know about performance reviews,
Right, yep, I
But
just
I
didn't know if
just-
there was a thing about,
but it would be
Okay.
maybe beneficial.
yep.
The United Way created a self-assessment for businesses to identify how they were doing on their equity work, so I bet that's something that could be adjusted for individuals.
Thank you. Tool. To assess. Okay, great. Okay, awesome.
One last thing, strategy number 6, the only thing, so it says increased equity and services and programming related to city-owned properties and institutions, youth outreach, strategy number 6. 6E to be exact, strategy 6E.
That was actually, I wrote that one.
Excellent.
I wrote that one with the youth outreach, and it was just basically in regards to, it was naming off like different, yeah, getting them involved, like library, Sheldon, Park Naturalist program. I think that the youth outreach could be a good ally in helping,
To help do that,
to
okay.
help steer that, yeah. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah, and I wonder if we need to make that more clear, because yes, youth outreach definitely to work through them, and the ones that were named there are things under the city's control, like, you know, the library, the Park Naturalist, is through the
Community
Sheldon.
ed.
Well, now Park Naturalist did move to community ed and rec, so I gotta figure that out, we might have to take that one out. But I still think, I get your point here, is that this still could be a really good partner, and we probably need to name them somewhere. Okay. Do you know what I mean about why people were named there? Because then it's an exact employee or a department or a building that, you know, there's some city control there, but still, this could still be incorporated in outreach. Good. Okay, good. Rachel.
So I have the first page of Agenda A under the activities for 2022.
Okay, this is actually so loud. Wait. Okay. We won't get into this yet, get out to the community. Just a minute. Okay, which one is this, Rachel? Oh, it's the addendum, got it. Okay?
So activity number 1 is implement human rights including documentation system. And someone asked, will this address all populations, including race, sexual orientation, gender identity, etc.?
Yes, but we should make that more clear. It's whatever the Department of Human Rights, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights covers, so age, race, sexual orientation, disability, gender, all of those things. But that's a good point, maybe we need to make that clear that that is based on the Minnesota Department of Health, or of Human Rights. It's basically what the state says. Does that answer? I don't know why I looked at you. Was that yours, Sarah?
It was mine.
It was, okay. I don't know why I looked. Maybe I saw blue and I thought of you. Okay, what else?
And then activity number 4 is research area where plaques should be placed on buildings or geographic sites and draft the language for grants to be for projects with primary funding. There's a comment about Eli Fields at the St. James.
Good. Great addition. Okay.
And then there is another question or comment. This could be a partnership with Revenue Visitors Bureau.
And which number was that?
That's also for number 4.
Oh, the plaques and, okay, yeah, good. Good idea. Okay. Great. Be a partner. Okay. Good.
And on the second page,
Okay.
so the number 7, it says that pilot and shelter transportation programs for board and commission members during the meetings for 1 year and evaluate. And there's a comment, this love this idea.
Okay, yeah.
And number 8, additional demographic question to the board and commission application. We have this is one question. Will there be a matrix of the demographics of board commission annually?
Yes, yes, that's a good question.
And,
Yeah, we should put that down, that we will keep track of the answers for that. We will keep track of when, if you are, this is a question, if you wanted to be on a board or commission, oh, let's see, Alexis, because I'm looking right at you. And you were filling out an application, and there's a sentence there that said, the city of Red Wing is trying to make sure we're reaching out to all populations. I don't know what exactly we would say. And there would be an optional place to check your gender, and your race or ethnicity, kind of like the census. I don't know if we would do sexual orientation, I don't know. Would you be, you know, we're trying to figure out, would people, it's optional, but if we don't ask, it's the only way you can track, you know, to see. I mean, and it started, I remember this conversation started during 2040, and people were asking about men and women and how, you know, that shook out between boards and commissions. And we don't ask anything, but the idea is that we would start tracking that to see if we are becoming more diverse in our representation. So how do you feel about that? If you saw that, would that turn you off, or would you?
I normally don't check that.
I never
I
ask.
don't answer that.
Okay. So then we really wouldn't be,
I think the only thing with that I answer is the two or more race, like, two or more races, like, yes, I identify as black, but, you know, I'm still not gonna be disrespectful to my mom's side.
right,
You know, I am white and black, I just unfortunately identify as black.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Huh?
You said unfortunate.
You said unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, I hear it.
I guess I should have said that, worded that differently, but
Yeah, we know, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if we were gonna try to track, and maybe that's not, I mean, maybe that wouldn't work then, I don't know.
Michelle, I think of it as an after thing. So if the goal of the city is to have more diversity on boards and commissions, that when this board and commission starts, then we do then the city does a matrix of all of those things of the people on the board and say, this is what the diversity looks like, and then next year we're gonna do the same thing and see if we're tracking in the direction that they wanna go. So it's not when people are applying, but this is what the board and commission currently looks like in 2022.
So what if, okay, so going based on that idea, what if, you know, you join the advisory team, or you join the HRC, or whatever, planning commission, doesn't matter, youth commission. So if it's not on the application, because maybe people, for whatever reason, I couldn't do it. But what if we handed something out after you're on? Would that still kind of be weird to you, or not? You know, to say, we're trying to track how boards and commissions are being more representative of the whole population. Would you do that or not? You know, I'm just asking, like, if nobody's
feel
gonna
like
fill
I'm
that out,
already
it's
doing
kind
it.
of a, huh?
I feel like I'm already doing it, just like HRC is probably one of the most diverse boards or commissions that this town has, to be honest with you.
No, right, but if you go to like other boards and commissions, they're not as diverse.
No.
So, you know, if we hand it out, everybody says they're white or they're man, woman, whatever. Transgender, you know, whatever. I guess I'm just saying, we don't have to solve it here. It's something where people would like to know, are we doing our job by getting out more into the community to be more welcoming and reach people to sit on those boards?
Like, who are we being welcoming to? Is that what you're mean?
Well, just like, it's nice to know, I mean, when someone sees a different commission and it's not very diverse, and you look at 11 of them, let's say, and it's not very diverse, and then you look at a couple that are, it just gives people an idea, like if we're doing the Red Wing report card, and we say how diverse or non-diverse we are, do we have more work to do? And it's just kind of, it's a measurement. So we might have to, okay, that's when we need to work on. The idea was to keep track of representation. So we may need to do more work to find out what would be best for people, what would work best.
And I have another comment in the same, point. Is offered translation paid by the city if needed be published. Offer translation.
Oh, translation.
Yeah.
Oh, with the application? With the application one? Okay. Yep, so translate, yeah. Good point. Are those translations available? Okay. On applications. Okay.
Just have a comment in the number
I'm the one who put that one.
Great.
No, I just feel it's important because I go back to that police in the park that they had, like how, man, that was a great thing. And I think it's very important that the police get out here and
Okay.
get more involved.
Yep, awesome. Okay, thanks Janet for reading. And Sarah, the last two here, 2 sheets.
So under strategy 5, number 15 of expanding the city involvement with the school district's Life Paths program, to add there to involve the parents too.
Okay, and does anyone want to say more about that?
I would say talk to Nick about that.
Yeah, but did someone?
I didn't write it.
Oh, okay,
Oh, I do.
okay.
I did. Yeah, because I know. I mean, the students they supposed in this program they need to start be independent, but the parents they are the support the kids. I mean the teenagers and maybe. For example, my son is in 12th grade and I need more information as a parent to help him.
Okay, before and during, do you think, or?
During and, before the
Yep. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. Okay,
Number 16 was hold at least one racial equity cultural responsiveness training in 2021 for all staff, council, board, and commissions. And there was a note saying, can there be a training available to the community at large as well? So if the community wanted to learn more, if there was something available.
That's a great point.
like the HRC, yep. Okay.
Number 17 is research programs that allow flexibility in hiring stipulations when appropriate to open up more opportunities for residents who may not have the required licensures or education. And the note was to remove all education requirements from jobs that are not mandatory.
Is that good? People are liking that?
I forget, but I didn't write that.
Right, no, but I heard this happen, so I'm like, oh, people.
I'm totally behind it.
Yeah.
I did that one.
Yeah,
Because to be honest with you, there's people out here, they can have a GED or something, but they're one of the most, like, example, my all-time favorite chef in the world, his name's Jeff Rhodes. He learned all the skills in prison. He got sent to prison for 15 years, and he learned everything. And when he got out, he became the first African-American black chef of the Bellagio Hotel, in Vegas, self-taught. So I did that one.
right, yeah. Good deal, okay.
And then under increased equity in services and program relating to city-owned property institutions, number 6. I don't know if this was the right fit, I wrote this one, but to review all city documents to eliminate gendered language. 2021, take out he, her.
What do we put then, Sarah? That might be a question, but what
They, them.
would you, okay, for all?
For all.
Okay.
What do you mean by gender? I'm probably a box of rocks right now because I ain't catch you much
Yeah, that's
sleep,
right. Can you
but
talk more?
gender language.
Yeah, so like when you're reading contracts or reading applications, it'll say things like he/she, and you can just take that out and put they, them instead, so that people who are non-binary or transgender aren't left out of the she, her. And so
Okay.
it's just more inclusive language.
I dig that, yeah.
Okay.
Number 20, add an item to the city's grant application asking community event organizers to explain how their planning and programming will reach out to all residents, including diverse communities. And the note says, will there be resources available to organizers to excel at this? Maybe a list or resource center with names and numbers of other organizations in town.
Yes. Rachel, is that yours? I saw you, writing that? That's good, because, so this team came up with that idea to, if the city is going to give funds to an event, I'm looking at Jan too, because it was a few months ago, that if they're asking for money from the city, they would need to talk about how they're reaching out. But you're right. You know, if you're asked a question, but then you have no idea of what you're really being asked for. Is that kind of what you're saying, like resources?
Yeah, I feel like we're
for?
asking them to explain how they're gonna do something, and then the next point says that it's gonna be incentivized to do that. And I'm just wondering how we're gonna set them up for success to do that, so.
Right, yes, yes. One idea that has come since the advisory team made that suggestion was, someone said, well, even if the city isn't giving money, let's say you fill out a PUP and you're not even asking the city for money, but you might be able to say, hey, if you do reach out to more people or you do make everything more inclusive, we'll give you 25% off your PUP fee or something like that. So you could either incentivize when they're not asking for money, but you could also, you know, require it when they are asking for money, but resources, so people can be successful at that. Okay. Okay.
And then on page 4A, just all generally under number 7, for increased equity in economic development and housing, is to have the city council evaluate current housing policies that are preventing new builds from happening, like the parking requirements.
Yeah, I think I remember, if I remember correctly, when Mayor Dowse was still here, they were trying to get that one apartment building right there off East Avenue, right there by your house, but he had vetoed it because of the whole parking issue. There wasn't like enough parking or something like that.
Yeah, so more flexibility in zoning, things like that. Okay, especially part. Okay, good, good. And what number was that?
It's all under strategy number 7.
Okay, is there a little number though? Under it, like,
No.
like that?
I
Oh, I see, as an added. Okay,
Yeah.
good, yep, that's okay, add. Okay.
And then allocating funds to support this, so
Okay, what you got?
allocate funds to support building affordable housing stock.
Read it one more time.
Allocate funds to support building affordable housing stock.
Okay, great.
And then research are looking into funds that could be available to create a landlord incentive / mitigation fund pool.
Yes. To help them when they need to fix up their place?
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you are willing to rent to felons, or you're willing to rent to people who don't pass the background check, you can have X amount of money or this incentive available to you.
Great.
Can I make a comment on the translation one?
Yeah, let's just wait a minute and so. Just wait. We're gonna wait for Steve to get done with his thing.
Fair house.
Steve, we're waiting for you. Steve, we're waiting for you. Okay. Okay, Sarah, what you got?
So I really like the translation available in the applications, but I wrote that one and it was actually to write like on the application or let people know that the city would provide translators. So if someone who doesn't speak English or is deaf wants to be on a board or commission, that they know that a translator will be provided for them. I don't know if they will do that, but they should.
Well, yeah, and we are trying to make that possible where we do transportation and childcare, just like we do here, for all the boards and commissions. That would be a big step, but we would add that to each of the applications. Which would be different than the demographic stuff, you know, but like if you're filling it out, would you require or would you wish for transportation, yes or no? Would you want childcare? And then we would just do it like we do it here. So hopefully that, but we could do translation as well, or interpretation. Right?
Interpretation.
Yes, I'm learning the difference between translation, which is written, I'm looking at Jan, am I right?
Yeah.
Interpretation is
Is
verbal. Okay, okay. Okay, so one question, so really good addition. get out more into the community. Thomas was asking, I'm going to ask Thomas first how he's going to help get it out into the community. Thomas asked, how many Black people did you talk to or interview to put together this plan? So we don't have an exact number at all. And we do need to make it more clear on our how was this plan put together. We do have some things that came directly, a lot came directly from the 2040 plan, and we did reach a lot of people through that plan. And then we went to all kinds of things. I can send you that information. Then this team did a survey, and that survey had 28 Black people who identify as Black, 27 white, 7 Hispanic, 3 Asian, 2 Native, and 1 human. But I would say there haven't been just 28 Black people total. So that will be, it'll be interesting to see how do we calculate, how do we talk to people about, that, so that people know it wasn't just a bunch of white people in a room putting something together. So the next step is how can this team and how can I and how can the city get this more out into the community? So are there places where if you had either an online survey or a hand survey, that you could get that out either through online circles, your business, your friends, your family, a group? Can we brainstorm just for a couple minutes on how the team can help us do that?
A town hall meeting,
Could do that.
you know what I mean, like,
Okay.
yeah, basically, yeah, I mean, I think there's a big need for a town hall meeting, and I think this would be a good opportunity, it'll help people get some things off their chest and get some better clarification on, you might be there and speak upon something that, like, just a second ago, when you gave the explanation of translation and
Interpretation.
interpretation,
Yeah.
like, I didn't really realize until you said it, one's more verbal and one's written. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, we can all learn from each other, we just gonna have to figure out the way to make it happen. I don't know, I feel like a town hall meeting would be, almost just an idea.
Yep. I'm also going to write down open house. They're different. Town hall is more you're talking, you're having a conversation, you're speaking your mind. Open house, which they often do for a plan. You've got these boards set up kind of around, and people sort of do what you guys did. Mark down, ask questions. You've got people around to ask those questions, like, I don't get what you mean by this. And there are a few people around who could help answer those questions. It could be you guys, it could be us, who knows. So it could be an open house in addition to a town hall. Okay, good. Other ideas?
That open house would be actually, if this whole community center thing goes through, I think that would be a great opportunity to maybe try and implement that in a way. Because each room, you could utilize whoever's going to take that space, they can kind of have this set up like we have here now. People can go through and learn about each one, and at the end they can get the survey thing, do a little, is there something we can work on, which area, or what do you think?
Okay, yep. Okay. Other ideas?
Obviously, I'm a big advocate for this community center, so I just feel like if it happens and the more people we get pushing city council, not, I guess, pushing them, but getting that bug in city council's ear and the school board's ear, the less chance of them saying no. Because I hate using this term, but you can get more than one bird with one stone. With that community center, we'll have a safe place for people to just come. We'll have opportunities for, like, say, some programs with Hope, youth outreach, and so on and so forth.
Right. Yep. Agree. So what do you think in the next month, this team can do to help get this out? You know, if we make it available online, Thomas, you were talking about getting out more into the community, what do you suggest?
That's totally something separate from what you're talking here. I'm just talking going door to door and engaging with people, and trying to get more people to come into like city council and have, listen to what's going on, learn, the operations or, local government and things like that. So our voices are heard. So that's all I was thinking about, just trying to grab some people and knock on some doors.
But could you do that with this plan to see if what people want
I
is
mean,
in there?
yeah, you can, but I still, like I said, I have some research to do in here, but I have.
Okay.
So one thing, I'll just put this out here. Every time something typically happens to a black person, everybody wants the Me Too thing to go on. And so we always are grouped with other people of color. When you look at the disparities of, housing or even wealth within people, blacks are always typically at the bottom. But we are the ones that take the beatings. We are the ones that get killed. We are the ones that get doors closed in our face, so to speak. But we always have to be grouped with everybody else, so we still lose because we're not going to be looked at or it's not taken seriously. So that's one observation from this thing that I take. And, to me, I don't see where this addresses anything that I know to go on in my black community. I was primarily raised around my people. Not saying I don't care or love everybody, but there's the disadvantages that, I knock on the door and, chances are they're going to close it on me. Chances are, because of the way I talk or whatever else, and that's how it goes. And every black young man, he's a gangbanger. He has a gun. You look at him or you look at us like that, and it's what it is. But we have to bring people to the table that can speak to these problems, and take our word of what's going on, because for the longest time, everybody's been telling us, this is what they're crying about, or this is what they're whining about, and then you put something together that really wasn't neat, So those are.
So, yeah, and so that's why I hear you. So we want to put stuff together that will help address it. I mean, I know it's not going to fix everything. It's, it's so incremental and there's so many issues. But.
So there's some wording in here that says something about the Hispanic heritage, something, the Asian, and others. But again, if George Floyd didn't get killed, we probably wouldn't be here today. And that's, that was, to me, I call it the final straw. And so there's a lot of waking up and people becoming aware, but we're still not asking the question. You're still not understanding what's wrong. Nobody is. You just assume this is what it is. Absolutely, it's fair. I mean, inequality in finances, housing, whatever. But those are the things we have to talk about. You can put this thing together, but it's still possible to keep me outside because of this. This is an equity plan that, they put together, but you didn't ask me what was the problem. How are we going to solve the fact that everybody in the black community is not a thug, everybody's not a gangbanger, everybody's not begging, everybody's this. We have decent people. We've shown this over the history of America, and that's what we're missing. And I'm not, again, throwing anybody outside. I'm just saying we always seem to hover around the bottom. So.
I was just going to ask, because what I got over what you just said is kind of like something I've been questioning is, this is a plan. We can plan for days and years and, going forward. Well, where does the action take place?
So it's supposed to be in those 32 action steps
because
So they're.
how do you prove that that's happening though when it's taking place? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you can put all these in the works for plan, but are, when, where, how are they gonna take place, these
Mhm.
actions?
Yeah, no,
Because-
that's a really good.
And are they a waste, are some of these plans in here a waste of time?
Right, and if they
Why-
are,
Like, I
then
feel like we're
cross
kind of
them
just
off.
like on merry-go-round, like talking, like,
Yeah.
like Thomas said, like, a lot of this stuff doesn't even, like,
right,
isn't even racial equity, like, it's not involved in here.
yeah. So that's what I want you guys to do. If you don't like it, cross it off. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what we're here. So when you say we're not asking, I want to ask.
There,
Yeah.
but why aren't we focusing on like the biggest and most
And so,
damaging things in our community?
jump in because she just made me aware of something. So we need to be specific about what we're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
Not that let's shake hands and treat everybody right. So we see that there's an inequity here. How do we fix this particular one? Then how do we fix this one? Even to a simple question is why, again, is every black person bad because of news broadcast or whatever else? And that probably plays a part in me going to get a job. Even someone naming, we have our own way to name our children. They see that name on a job application, immediately they push it to the side
How
because,
are you,
okay, here's
how are you
trouble.
proving that's not happening?
Yeah,
Right,
You know,
so,
that's-
That's
a lot of
an
things
aspect
that-
you need to fix.
right, so it talks about here, let's work with our economic partners like the chamber to help lead discussions and education on implicit bias in economic industries, so that
The
businesses
chamber
get
keeps us
what they're.
outside too.
Huh?
The chamber keeps us outside too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so these are these, when you're saying, let's have these discussions, let's start talking about what's really happening, let's start talking about what a kid feels like when they get looked at, what a parent feels like, those conversations that kept coming up, like, I don't feel comfortable in my community because a lot of the businesses don't make me feel comfortable.
Can I?
So let's have
I
some.
just want to ask a question.
Yeah.
So have anybody ever thought why it is there's so much crime in the black community? And the reason is there is no opportunity. And these kids, we live day to day. And so sometimes you're not going to, go and ask for a job. You may be a felon, you may not be. And they're trying their best to do things the right way. But they keep getting doors slammed in their face. And then the only alternative they have to feed themselves or their families are to steal or something else, or sell drugs or whatever, which leads us to prison. So now you eliminate us all the way. And then we come with these kind of things and think this is the best way to do it. Or we'll have a relief package for, blah, blah, blah. But then black people, if it's a relief package for us, about time it gets to us, there's nothing left. Because all the organizations that hand out the money keep the money. So those are the things. And again, that's why I was telling you, I think about a lot of things, but I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm just saying it really has to be thought of and it has to be effective. We can waste time all year, all our life for this, but we have to do something that is effective to us, for us all.
Right.
Black, white, Hispanic, everyone. Sorry, I get a little passionate.
No, it's right. And when we came in April and talked about it, that's what I'm asking for. What are the things you want in here? I'm not putting stuff in here. I'm literally
Oh, no.
begging.
I don't want you to take it wrong.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No. I hear you. I'm just trying to think of what we want to put in here, what matters.
This is simple.
You know.
This is a simple, safe route.
Yeah.
The one that's taking time because it's planning. It's just a common way to just kind of keep doing what we've been doing for, how long has this been a thing?
Not very long.
This is the draft, but there's been the strategic or the,
Oh, in 2017, but yeah,
There's
there hasn't been a racial equity plan very long.
I'm just saying any type of plan, like
Yeah.
the,
2040?
yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
You can go on and on and on, this is a safe, easy way to do it on paper, but just had something in mind, Thomas, and that made me think of something now I forgot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it is the government way, I will tell you. You make a plan.
here's the, like, it's not for what people of color in any community experience, this is not strong enough to help at all. Not because the ideas and the stuff that's in here is bad, but this is a nice way of saying, let's just shake hands and be friends, please. And it's not easy, that's not gonna happen. Because
Ain't no
everybody
meat
can
with
put
the
down a
potato.
piece of paper or something that they actually don't feel they can lie and say, I'm following the equity plan, I'm doing this, I'm practicing procedures the right equitable way, but are they? Like, and how are we, where is the proof?
Yeah.
I guess. Because we could say that everybody part of the Chamber of Commerce or any housing development opportunities has been doing saying that they're equitable, they're following the right hiring practices, but the proof's in the pudding. We have all the stuff here.
Right.
There is a huge disparity, so is
Exactly.
it still happening?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yep.
this isn't going to change that.
And
Unless you're holding people accountable and like whoever, wherever, whatever it might be that's causing a problem is like suffering some type of repercussion or consequence. And that's what the city's not doing.
Continuity. Yep.
They're not holding people
Nobody be
accountable.
discouraged. Don't be discouraged about it because, again, it could be a great thing and it just needs some revisions. And
Yeah.
it has to be specific. And it's not for one group to be dominant. It's for everybody to be on the equal playing field. And it's a really simple way to do it. We just have to put it into practice and we can make it.
What I think it could be, just go for one goal because, we can see, the city has too many goals like housing and city council and transportation, school things, and, when you have too many goals, we usually, lose, all of us fall over and just make little here, little there, little, and we try to accomplish all of them, it's gonna be hard. So, but if we focus on just one goal, like for example, hear the voices of the community, have the safe space, bring the community together and let them speak, because even I'm Hispanic, person, I'm not living the same situation that the other families, and the city council. Let's talk about locally. The city council, they need to know the community. And the police, they need to know the community. I'm talking about, the city council go to the park and, know the community, the families, neighbors, we can start from there, knowing, them and they know us.
8 o'clock, I have to go.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You all see you.
Yeah, see ya.
Be encouraged. We're
Is
gonna
it
fix
8
this.
o'clock? Oh, it is. Jeez. Okay.
Well,
See you later.
Yeah,
see you later.
City council, needs to know, yeah. So that would be, it'd be nice to know what, out of all of these things, maybe that's, what is, like for Janet, it's city council and the city knowing their people, knowing,
Yeah, who's living
What the-
here? What are their needs? And personally hear from them. The same situation here, there. Nobody
So
have the same
maybe-
situation.
maybe it is putting this aside and then having just some small town halls with different people in different communities. And like the Hispanic listening session that they were talking about, what, but maybe it's getting counsel and getting
Yeah, it could be, just
people together.
Yeah, this. I know this is, this is a good work, but it's still just on the paper,
Okay.
and I know it's gonna take time.
I do think that it should should be and could be a both and, of more town halls, more listening, but then actual doing. I was having a side conversation at that housing meeting last Monday. How long have we been talking about housing? And why aren't we just building? Like, we all know, everyone knows that the solution is more houses. So why are we all sitting around still talking about this? Just start building some doggone houses. And so doing this work of like, oh, let's put this off to the side and talk some more, we know that there's things that could happen. The education requirement, if that could go away, like Michael said, someone with a GED or a high school diploma could be the best employee, have the best drive, and not have a bachelor's degree, and that kicked them out of it. So I think that there's things that could do active work right now that is really important, that we shouldn't just keep kicking the can down the road.
Well, and to your point about accountability, if it is something where these things go on people's, like a lot of this would be, you know, on people's, what they are held accountable for these, so what they are reporting on to their city council, what they're reporting on to their department head, and they're being, held accountable to that. So maybe,
So what happens if they fall short, though, is kind of what when I ask for accountability, like, I want you to account for yourself or the team or whoever's in this, whatever group, account for yourselves, but when they fall short of that accountability, then what? That's what I want to know, because you can't just keep letting people fall short of their accountability, their responsibilities. If we're going to be serious about having this plan in place.
Okay, great.
I do think that there's something to be said, that we can't give this an A+ if like 5 of the easiest things happen and nothing else does. Like, oh, look at all this work I did, but I took the 5 easiest things off the list and checked them off. So going back to the accountability of ranking and making sure that things, hard work is getting done too.
Okay. All right. Good. Well,
And I don't think that accountability should only go for the city government when talking about this plan. I think that city government maybe needs to find ways to hold the citizens in this community accountable for the way they make us feel. I know they can't probably make people be accountable, but find ways to make it so you don't have to. You know, does that make sense at all?
it does. Yes, and I think partly the city's trying to lead a little bit by example if they can. There are lots of people that are doing so much good work, so I won't say that the city is leading the charge at all. But I think what they're trying to say is we're actually going to put a plan in place with some accountability, hoping that other people follow and do the same thing. I know the school is doing some of that, and that others maybe already have that as part of their plans.
I know that's something we're talking about tomorrow night, is what are we gonna do to hold people accountable, if I remember correct.
Right, and so the idea is, does the HRC, does the Human Rights Commission sort of monitor this plan so that there's,
I don't think we should, because man, if you look, man, we got enough stuff on our plate.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Right, monitor might have been, you're right, to keep track of all that. And honestly, that's the city's role, department heads, the people should, the city council approves a plan, that means that everybody is accountable to making that happen. So, and that was sort of the idea behind making at least some conscious, like for 2022, these are things that have to get done. But again, I don't know, I hope it's a both and. We're totally open. If this group says, hey, start over, or this doesn't work, or, I'm open to hearing what you think. So I'll let you sit with that a little bit. looking really tired. Rachel, did you have one thing to, no? You kind of looked like you had something.
I was just gonna mention kind of like the concept of tone at the top, you know, and
Of what at the top?
tone at the top.
Oh,
And kind of, you know, if we really push this and get citizens input and can actually put it into enactment and seeing it be successful and seeing us checking off more than just the easy stuff. I don't like the phrase trickle down at all, but that attitude kind of gets promulgated through the community. You know, as soon as we hold city government accountable, they're going to hold the next level of people accountable, and hopefully that will come down to actual citizens seeing the impact that this brings into the community, and therefore wanting to push it even further and being extremely supportive of that.
okay. Good. Well, I am going to send out a couple questions for you all so that you can help us make sure that we're, and really just some overall questions, I guess, too. We are at 8:05, and we started at 6:05. I am going to just pass out, if you're interested, these community meetings on homelessness, to your point, more meetings on homelessness and housing insecurity that you are welcome to join if you want. It has nothing to do with, I mean, you know, you're not obligated, obviously, for being an advisory team member. I just want to mention it. Yeah, I think a follow-up series of questions to you all so that we know kind of maybe how to proceed, and the HRC will be talking about this tomorrow too. So we'll get two of those groups, and then you'll hear from me on how we might be able to do better. And if you think of anything, or like if Sandy's still writing and she's got ideas, email me so that I get all that. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for your time. I super appreciate it. Thank you.
So we need help keep things up.
I love it. I make my daughter do it.
Do you need help?
Every day, we gotta learn it. 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 We gotta